Ethan's instincts screamed at him to go after her, to stop her before she could strike, but logic held him back. If Lena wanted him dead, he would already be dead. She was patient, methodical, and she knew how to stay hidden. Chasing shadows would lead them nowhere. They needed concrete leads, tangible evidence, and most importantly, they needed to understand what Lena was playing at. Why was she back? What did she want? Days turned into weeks, and the investigation reached a fever pitch. The team worked tirelessly, following every lead, no matter how cold, interviewing everyone who had ever crossed paths with Lena, hoping for a single shred of information. But Lena had been good. Her past was wiped clean, her footprints erased. She was a ghost, a phantom haunting the city's underworld. There were whispers, rumors, half-remembered sightings, but nothing solid, as if Lena herself had woven a spell over the city, shrouding her whereabouts in mystery. Maria sat across from Ethan in his dimly lit office, the weight of the investigation pressing down on them. Files lay scattered across the desk, forming a landscape of unanswered questions. Neither of them had slept properly in days. Their lives had become a blur of caffeine, stale takeout food, and the relentless pursuit of a ghost. "There has to be something," Maria said, her voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Someplace she frequents, someone who knows her whereabouts." Ethan rubbed his weary eyes. "She's like a whisper in the wind. Maria, she's here, but we can't seem to grab hold of her." A sudden knock at the door broke the silence. A young officer stood in the doorway, his face etched with urgency. Detective Connors, we have a situation at St. James Hospital." Both detectives felt a jolt of adrenaline. Could this be the break they had been waiting for? "What happened?" Ethan asked, his voice sharp with urgency. "We got a call of a possible murder. The victim is Adrian Vance. He was found in his office, apparently overdosed, but we think it might be foul play." Vance was one of the lawyers who had tangled with Lena in the past. His firm had represented several members of the D'Angelo family during the trials that had broken their empire. Could this be another one of Lena's moves? The thought sent a chill down Ethan's spine. At the hospital, the grim scene unfolded before them. Adrian Vance lay on a cold steel table, a stark white sheet covering his form. The sight of the dead man, the sterile surroundings, the hushed voices of the medical staff, it all coalesced into a harsh reality check. Lena was playing for keeps. She wasn't just sending messages. She was striking lethal blows. The autopsy revealed traces of a rare poison in Vance's system, a substance that mimicked an overdose, making it virtually undetectable. Lena had struck with surgical precision, eliminating anyone who might lead them to her. With each passing day, the case grew more complex, more deadly. Lena was moving like a wraith, striking fear into the hearts of those who had crossed her. The closer they got to her, the more danger they faced. Each step forward brought them closer to the abyss of her twisted game. The key to catching Lena, Ethan knew, lay in understanding her motives. Why had she resurfaced after all this time? What was she after? The answers, he sensed, lay hidden in the murky depths of her past. So he delved into the archives, sifting through old files, seeking clues that could unlock the enigma that was Lena D'Angelo. Amongst the clutter of documents, a photograph caught Ethan's eye. It was an image of Lena from the early days of the investigation, her face betraying nothing, her eyes like chips of ice. But what truly held Ethan's gaze was the woman beside her, a woman he vaguely remembered. Isabella Rossi, Lena's younger sister, had always been the enigma's wildcard. While Lena had been cold and calculating, Isabella had been hot-tempered and impulsive. She had been a loose cannon, unpredictable and dangerous. A lead. Ethan raced to the precinct, his mind a maelstrom of thoughts. He had neglected Isabella, dismissing her as a volatile sideshow in the hunt for Lena. But what if Isabella held the key to finding her sister? As Ethan questioned the witnesses, a picture began to emerge. Isabella had returned to the city, living under a false identity. But why? What had brought her back to the very place she had fled all those years ago? The answer, when it came, was both shocking and terrifying. Isabella was working as a mole for the Chinese triads, feeding them information about the police, about the city's underworld. She was the reason the triads had infiltrated the very core of the Italian crime families. In the ensuing chaos, the police had arrested several mobsters, but the mastermind behind it all had remained hidden, pulling the strings from the shadows. It was a betrayal that had shaken the city, a betrayal that had led to countless deaths and a reign of terror. And now it seemed Lena was back to fix it. With this new lead, Ethan felt like he was finally closing in on Lena, but as he dug deeper, the truth unraveled like a dark tapestry, weaving a tale of deceit, vengeance, and a bond that death itself could not sever. What he discovered was nothing short of astonishing. Lena and Isabella, despite their years of estrangement, had never lost their bond. Isabella's return to the city had been orchestrated by Lena. Together, they had devised a plan so intricate, so fraught with danger, that it defied belief. Lena had meticulously chosen the targets, the men who had been eliminated, the chaos that ensued. It was all part of her design, a macabre dance of death and vengeance. And the closer Ethan got to exposing her, the more he realized that he was not just chasing a killer. He was facing off against a force of nature, a force fueled by years of pain, betrayal, and a thirst for revenge. The final confrontation was inevitable. Ethan knew that somewhere in the city's labyrinthian underbelly, Lena was watching, waiting for her moment to strike. The question was, who would strike first? They found Lena in an abandoned section of the docks, a desolate wasteland of rusting metal and decaying wood. She stood on the edge of a pier, the wind whipping her hair round her face, her silhouette a stark outline against the fading light. As Ethan approached, she turned, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of triumph and resignation. "You found me," she said, her voice echoing over the water. "It was always going to end like this. Ethan, you and me, were two sides of the same coin. We play the same game, just on different sides of the board." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Why? Why did you do it?" A ghost of a smile touched Lena's lips. "Why? Because life isn't a game, Ethan. It's a battlefield. And on this battlefield, only the strong survive." The tension was palpable, the silence broken only by the lapping of the waves against the pilings. Then Lena made a move, a sudden, swift movement that took Ethan by surprise. She pulled something from her pocket, her face ashen. "I didn't want to do this," she whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "But I have no choice." Ethan saw what it was, a small vial. It was filled with a cloudy liquid, the very same poison that had taken Vance's life. Lena had intended to use it against him, but in that moment, she seemed to falter, as though torn between her mission and a last-minute change of heart. This was their final confrontation, the culmination of years of investigation, heartbreak, and loss. In this desolate corner of the city, Ethan was not just hunting a killer. He was facing a mirror image of himself, a reflection of the darkness that lurked within. The game had reached its endgame, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The only question was, who would win?